Hey everybody, welcome to Stranger Things on the Comic Core channel. I'm your host JD. Of course, with me is the co-host and man of the hour, Mr. TJ Watson. How we doing?
Hello, everyone.
It's TJ, and then we have our special guest this week is Comic Books NYC himself. How's everybody going? Tell us a little. Say hello to everybody there.
What's up, guys? How you doing? Thanks for having me on, guys. I honestly, this is almost like a big honor for me. I feel like I'm being knighted or something. Like you guys have invited me on Stranger Things, probably the show I most wanted to be on out of any
cool.
show. I didn't expect to be invited, honestly, for original art because I feel like I've been collecting comics way longer than I've been collecting original art, but original art has sort of taken over like the top of my passion set as far as my collecting in the last year or so. So I am pretty stoked that I get to sort of talk original art with you guys. You're such a knowledgeable guy, JD, and you're doing so much for the community. So major props to you.
Thank you very much.
And TJ, you're the legend, Slab Dragon. I'm super happy I get to actually hang with you in face to face for a little while. So thanks again for having me.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. So that was some nice stuff. So tonight's episode is a little different. We're not doing comic books this time. We're doing original art related to comics, or maybe not. Doesn't really matter. But original art that we've collected, and I think sometimes part of collecting a separate thing, whether it was statues or whether it was there, is your first interaction with original art and what drew you to it. Was it because some of it's unfinished work and some of it's polished work, but a lot of times, what was it that drew you to your first piece of original art? And I'm going to briefly tell mine. Was I watched a guy at a con sketch one time, and I just wanted to learn to do that. And anybody who I saw was doing it that I knew, I would ask him to draw something, just show me how to do it. And was mine. So my first one I ever had done could be, I've got a Walt Simonson Thor. Oh, no, probably my Todd McFarlane Spawn. Yeah, that's over in the back over there, yeah. It's on an index card this big. I just handed it to him in whenever Spawn came out. So that was mine. So that was my first piece of original art I ever went after, and I went with commissions, and then I went sequential. So why don't you guys tell me about your first times, TJ?
The first time I ever bought a piece of original art was my first collection back in the late 70s. It was a piece of George Perez cover for Marvel 2-1 with Stingray. This kind of snowballed from there. I enjoyed it so much. Yeah.
It's another rabbit hole. Between that and the golden age, original art, it's another rabbit hole. Comic Books NYC, you said you've been doing this for a little while.
Yeah, so I mean, if I think about it, the first piece of original art I ever bought had nothing to do with comics. I think I may have supported a friend or two over the years with their own artwork, like buying a piece or two. I think I bought a painting from a friend of mine in Toronto that has like almost like a Picasso-esque interpretation of the New York skyline or whatever. And I actually still have that up in my living room. I didn't take it down for this. So I kind of, I was into comics, but I never really translated reading comics to, collecting the art, right? Until I started, similar to you, going to Comic Cons more regularly and hanging out in Artist Alley. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I started with getting sketch covers, and I never really knew how far I would take the sketch cover commission thing. I've done some pretty expensive pieces, but I've also done some like dirt cheap, busts or whatever, or quick sketches. I never expected to get into the published pieces. I didn't actually buy my first published piece until 2018. So and then I sort of went off the deep end and I started buying a ton of original art, and I kind of got the bug for it. So here I am.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. So one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to show some stuff. I'm going to show some sketch covers I got. Just going to grab just 3 of them right now. And the different ways I got them real quickly. First one, I'm going to show George Perez doing a Thanos for me. This in 2013. Oh, he even wrote George Perez 2013 down there. This was one I always liked them to sign him to me, but somebody said to not do that, so I didn't. I still don't like that. But there's my Walt Simonson. This one I got 2011. This is really cool. Walt Simonson piece. He did this.
Nice.
This is back before they were charging. You know, it wasn't that long ago. Before, you know, I guess it's 6 years ago. Some of them, and some were 8 years ago. But they weren't charging. Walt Simonson might be charging now because that Beta Ray Bill movie is going to make him a ton of money. Then a guy who I have a lot from because I just love his art, and he does Ninja Turtles now. Sajjad Shah. He did a few variant covers. He did this for me when I said, "Do your interpretation of a battle in Marvel that would be cool in DC." And he kind of made it the famous cover here, but kind of made the Joker as Captain America and Batman kind of a Batman-esque as Wolverine.
That's super cool.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I tell everybody when I get this is stuff I have sketched. If I ask for a sketch, it's not a prelim sketch. If I ask for a sketch, I ask the artist to do one thing. It's have fun with it.
Right. That's something I've noticed. That's something I've noticed in a lot of the original arts like commissions that you've shown is that it's like you're creating sort of a new interpretation or a hybrid interpretation of something, which is cool. I never thought to even go that route, and I feel like I should because you know there's only so much you can. I mean, I guess it just depends on what your goal is. You know?
Right.
But,
and it's exactly that. It's exactly that. Whatever your goal is to do.
So do you want? I can show some sketch covers because that's kind of where I started as well. Let me see. I'll show you an old simple one. So this is from Ryan Kincaid. It's on a Star Wars book. This is sort of in the lead up to The Force Awakens. This book came out, Shattered Empire. So this is just a quick. I think it's a light blue pencil over ink sketch of the lead character Shara Bay from that series. This was when I think back in 2015 this book came out.
Okay.
That was at Amazing Comic-Con in Vegas. Here's a more recent sketch cover I got New York Comic-Con last year from Andrea Ricardo. It's Civil War II. He drew Old Man Logan in that series. He's also a Star Wars, Disney, Marvel interior artist on the current title.
Very cool.
So that's a pretty cool Old Man Logan. This was I think considered a full body, inks over pencil sketch cover. And then let's see what else. I'll show a couple more. So here's one from Phoenix Comic Con a couple years ago. This was done by basically with essentially so this is done by an artist called Scott Blair. He's a pinup artist, so he draws like pinup girls and stuff. But he went more of a the straight up interpretation of the character,
the conventional route.
The convention, and I had it signed by Ashley Eckstein, the actress that voices the character on Clone Wars.
Very cool.
So, and there you go. You got the yellow label. So. Really happy with that one. And then this one, probably one of my favorite. This is probably one of my favorite Star Wars books. I mean, outside of the 35-cent price variant for issue number 1, which I do have. This is an original sketch from Brian Kong at Big Apple Comic Con a couple years ago. This is on the Force Awakens comic book adaptation, a blank cover. So it's basically Old Man Luke, but then it was also signed by Mark Hamill at New York Comic Con that year. So it's a double signed yellow label with Luke himself signing it. So
very cool.
Yeah.
TJ.
This is my latest piece I just got by an artist called Andy Fish. I'm not familiar with him. Most of the artists I have, my original art, I have no idea who they are. I just like their work, and that's the only motivation I have. And it's a nice robot cover, so picture, and it's an independent comic book.
I like it. It's I like how it's still like old way of inking. Very cool.
Yes, yeah, with the old laminate, typeset
Yep.
board instead they glue on. And another newer piece I have is this one, which is very old school the way they put it together. It's a
I
page
love
from
that
Mark
one.
Madden, Monster Manual number 3.
Badass.
And what I really like about this is this gray area here. This is a film that they cut out and place over the page, and they had to cut it out for the shape.
Oh
It's
wow.
very old school, and then of course the typeset words,
Awesome.
complete with whiteout and corrections. So that's very old school style. This is what they use on the Marvel magazines a lot. Is this kind of work? John Buscema did this a lot.
Yeah. He drew so big sometimes that Roy Thomas would be like, where am I supposed to put in the dialogue? And he'd get all there's always these things, and he's like, because John would draw us like the phrases from the elbow, but it would be the whole page would be covered with just sketch marks, and then they'd have to put the bubbles in where they could, you know.
Yeah.
So I actually have a published painted cover for a Roy Thomas hardcover, which I'll show later. But
Sure.
Nice.
But, love Roy Thomas.
Yeah.
Most of my original art is published work, but this was one I just couldn't pass up. That it was just a commission that someone had the artist do. Kevin Sharpie did this. It's all pencil, no ink, but the detail was amazing. Can you see it already?
That's the Superman 4 villain.
Yes, the Nuclear Man. Yep.
What was it, Nuclear Man or something?
Yes, Nuclear Man. Yep.
Yeah, Nuclear Man.
And but I just thought it was an amazing drawing. So
that's super cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
So I'll show a couple more recent acquisitions, I guess, if that's a category.
Oh, sure. Just
actually got this from the White Whale and Issues charity auction. So this is from Lady Death. So this is the book right here.
Yep.
This is the volume 1 from CrossGen Publishing, and it's got this is page 2 and 4. So this is page 2 and page 4. So those are Randy Amberlin inks, and
Randy's great. So
yeah, and Fabrizio. I'm probably not pronouncing it correctly, but it's like Fabrizio Florentino or Florentino. Did the pencils, but yeah, Randy Amberlin, and Randy Amberlin signed the pages in the bottom corner here. I like it when the artists also do a signature on the published page. I really prefer that, so I look out for that specifically. So that's why I was bidding on this one.
Yeah,
nice.
And you're just lucky I was broke. That's all I gotta say.
I'm sure, because I had already spent all that money on the Giant Size X-Men #1, and I was like, is really any people are gonna let this go for this cheap? But,
yeah, because I would have been in there if I had money.
So this is a piece of original art from a What If magazine.
Ooh,
it's really cool. This is done by Sam De La Rosa. You can see down there, big signature. And this is the book here in the back. In there, and this is the original page number 21, and it's cool because you've got a lot of cool characters on it. You've got a weird Wolverine. This is from a multiverse. Weird Wolverine, a Loki. You've got Kang. You've got Iron Man. You've got Thor, and Magneto. And the whole point is that there's a new thing called a Protect Droid, and everybody's costumes are all messed up. They're in a multiverse, just a different story. It's a what if Thor was a thrall of Seth, and it's just one of those great things. It's a part 4 of 5 of the Timequake series, kind of a different thing they did when they went back into areas. It's just cool. It's written a lot. But I like on this one what TJ brought up is I've got whiteout all over this thing. I've got pen marks on here. I've got little notes on the side. That's one of the best ones. I have another one with some cool notes. I'll show that one. But the notes I really like.
I love notes on the backs of the pages sometimes. Like sometimes you get like you can even get like a separate piece of original art on the back of the published piece, like where it's like like it's like what like an early stab at it or something. Like I got a couple pieces like that.
Yeah, I have
love
a few of those. Yeah.
Like on this piece on the
There
back.
you go.
Yeah. Example. Practice.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think this has practice on the back of it. This is a gambit, and this is if anybody-
I definitely have something with a practice run on it. But I think I probably have to take it out of the Mylar. Let me see. There's this Sean Chen piece. This is actually the first published piece I ever purchased, and it's a Sean Chen Electra splash page. Electra's not on the page. I actually have Sean Chen drawing an Electra bust separately as an original piece.
Very cool.
It's just like a quick sketch thing. But on the back of it, let me see if I can grab it, take it out of the Mylar. So it's this picture of Electra throwing this guy off a building. And on the back,
That is a beautiful piece.
I love this piece, man. I mean, look at that. Look at the the details. Yeah. Just
I wonder who the inker was. That's
crazy. Oh, I got my notes somewhere here. Let's see. The inker was
That inker has to hate that artist.
yeah. Sandu Floria.
Oh, Floria. Okay.
Floria.
So, yeah, that's.
Let me carefully get this thing out. Okay. And then on the back, you can see the practice run here.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I have on the back of this. There's a few practice runs. This is a Gambit from I think 2005 series or something. The Gambit series. You can see the practice run of him, but then you have the splash page right here.
Nice.
And it's a pretty cool storyline. It's actually one of the better Gambit ones. And this was at an auction, a charity auction in town here. The guy bought the whole original artwork from the whole book, and this was the page I wanted. The splash page right there. And down here it says, "Please give him some of that Kirby shadowing." And that's from the editor, so that's pretty good.
Awesome.
Some sequential, and that's more older stuff. Nowadays, just to show you what a modern computer one looks like, this is Captain America. Just around the time of the this was the comic book adaptation of just before Winter Soldier started, like missions that him and Black Widow would have gone on. So this is from that era, and actually, this is the original drawing of what Bucky was looking like.
Damn.
So that was there, and I got this. This was on. This from the art, the person who drew what he would look like as the character, and this is the prelim before they see him the first time.
Nice.
So, and this was the next page here. So,
yeah, you hear that lingo a lot in the comic art world, the prelims and
yep, I have a few prelims here.
Alternate take or alternate, cover or whatever.
Unpublished cover.
Unpublished cover.
Yep.
There's a whole other set of lingo that's kind of interesting as well.
Yeah.
I have a few examples of those I'll show as we go along. TJ, what else you want to show?
Does anyone know the name Eduardo Barreto?
Eduardo Barreto.
He's the one that did the Martian Manhunter, and he's really good. I just don't know who he is.
I got a few pieces by people I've never heard of that just I looked at the piece and it spoke to me, and I was like, it's on Comic Link and it's not being bid on by a lot of people, so I get it super cheap, Yeah,
it's like when the Superboy New 52 came around. This was a piece from a splash page from that.
Oh,
ooh, Shark.
Yep. And I got two. I don't know who the artist is, but I got two pages from that same issue.
Nice.
Yeah.
What year? That's Superboys?
Yeah, the New 52 Superboy.
Oh, New 52 Superboy. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And I think that's that shark villain is popular, but I'm not sure. Never read the book. Just like the art.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I got some more moderns as well, which I can show.
DS Comic is here. DS, check out that shark.
Yeah, right. So these also have the color sort of pages on the back. These two pages are from the X-Men Forever series for Volume 2. This is when like Claremont started writing X-Men again. So this is page 20, and then page 21. These are the inker is Corey Hampshire on it, and the pencils are done by Tom Grummett. But also, see at the top there, those two SIGs?
Yep.
So Claremont signed these as well. So
that's nice.
Yeah, so you have the writer, and then you have the inker signing, and then you have the pencil and ink work, plus also getting the color pages on the back for reference, which is pretty nice. And then I'll also show. Let's see. So this is a page from. So I don't. I think I have the original issue somewhere. Yep, right here. So Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #5. Okay, and this is the page 2 splash page.
Oh, wow.
So this was the sort of separate series to the main Turtle series that started. It's not Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Volume 1. It's a separate series that tells side stories called Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And then this one has a pretty cool Easter egg also on the back because it's signed by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, as well as the artists on the back. So let me pull it out. So as you can see here on the back, you have Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, and you also have some head sketches and stuff. So
nice.
Yeah, Turtles action.
Very cool. So one of the things we might as well go over with everybody. This is a little learning session here. What we showed you were 3 different styles. I'm going to explain costs real quick.
Yeah.
Sketches are the cheapest, and they're for what you want. You can get a sketch from an artist in any artist alley for $40 if you want. That's the cheapest way to go. Then the next one would be preliminary stuff or unpublished work. Then you go published work, and the published work you do sequential, and then you go, the next one is splash page, and the next one is cover. Sometimes some splash pages are worth more than covers, but a lot of times the cover is the main thing when you get original art. Things here that are cheap that you can get are still original art by the original artist. These are what they call tryouts for covers or prelims. And here's an example of the Silver Surfer that just came out. This is one of the prelim drawings of it that he did, and this was these were at C2E2.
Cool.
And he did the Thor for this was going to be on the side of a classic Thor redo or something they were going to do when he had Mjolnir again. Then you've got this. There's another example of that. This is a prelim of Ragnarok. But the artist didn't know that Mjolnir was not going to be in Ragnarok beyond Hela crushing it. Spoiler alert. But that's exactly where that comes from. Oh, by the way, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi, done by the person who drew the Obi-Wan.
That's awesome.
Series, yeah. That's the original she did. She's
really nice.
A lot of those. But cover prelims, and like the Silver Surfer, these are inside things. But a true cover prelim, I have 2 that I have to keep in frames. This is a Marko Jerkovic. This is actually in the cover. But they digitally take this there. But this is I'll show it here so you can see it. Look at the detail on the Thor. And I'm just going to explain to you the detail all the way to the face is ridiculous. Nice. And this is just a pencil one of it. And this is what they chose to do. So they said, yep, you're drawing the cover. That's the cover. And they went and he redid the cover. This is like a prelim. This is Marko Jerkovic. And then the other one I have is by my other favorite foreign one, Gabriel Dell'Otto. This is Annihilation #5.
And
what Annihilation 5 cover looks like, except it's a zoom in of just the 2 faces. So that's that. But this is all pencil. And one of my favorite things to collect, and this is going to sound weird, but a lot of times I'll take a dirty pencil sketch than I will an inked sketch. It depends on how I see how they're doing it. So I have a tough time deciding. And you know, when I talk to some other guys that collect original art, one of the questions they ask is, "Do you like it just the plain pencil or the ink over it?" I said it depends. Like on what you guys showed, your inking is outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
I happen to think that the inking would have ruined this because it's who I only wanted the artist, the pencil there, because Delata would have painted this at some point, you know, on a bigger sheet, but this is there. These are smaller sheets of it, but these are original. And they're all signed with dates, and it says attempt number 2, attempt number 3. You know?
Yeah, I don't have a ton of like pencil only. Like this, I guess this is a pencil only sketch. Is done by Michael Armstrong of Wonder Woman, and I like the the use of the shading and the pencils and just the depth of the drawing. But this is not a published piece at all. This is a this is just like a commission. One-off illustration from him. But I tend to have more, I guess, inked pieces or fully painted. There's a couple. This is one published cover that I have. It's for Night Watch #1, Ron Lim. 90s goodness. So you got that old school Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
So this is the first published cover that I ever purchased for original art, and it's a watercolor painting.
Yep.
You and I are going to see Ron Lim in August.
Yes, I'm hoping I'll get a piece of original art from him.
Ron Lim.
Oh my. You and I both.
So here's another
piece.
Over surfers.
I was going to show something else, but now that we're talking about Ron Lim, I'm going to show this. I don't have a ton of stuff in frames, but this is definitely one of them. This is a Ron Lim commission.
Oh,
Thanos versus Silver Surfer.
So much better than mine.
So
I have one Ron Lim Thanos sketch, but I'm not going to grab it now because
this is one of my absolute favorite pieces.
Yeah, that would be my favorite piece. I put that over there next to the. Well, no,
that's a beautiful piece.
Well, let me know if there's a right price for you. But
hey, you know me.
I
tried everything.
So that's one of my favorites for sure. And then I'll show one more thing before I'll give it to TJ for his next turn. I only have really 2 watercolor pieces. So that you saw that Ron Lim cover, and this is my other watercolor piece. This is a Frank Miller Daredevil watercolor commission. So I didn't commission this. So the provenance for it is that I bought it from another collector who did commission it. A New York-based guy. So I trust
It looks Frankish. Yeah,
but
that certainly looks like Frank.
Yeah, and it's got his FM right there.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I don't even want to know how much that cost.
Well,
actually, it wasn't as much as you would think it was, but because I bought it as part of a lot of other art that's been selling, and he gave me a good deal on it because local community type thing, you know what I mean, without having to go through all the rigmarole of auctioning it and all that. So it's a decent deal.
Yeah.
All right, I'll show my last piece later. My last piece after TJ goes.
This is my only cover I actually own this time around, and it's by Clark Williams. This is Lone Star Comics Strange Heroes, and I told the story before, but someone might not have heard it. When it was on eBay being advertised, they showed it like this, and then when I looked up the cover, the actual
it works both ways.
Yes, it works both ways, but the actual cover of the book is like this. So, and he doesn't work for DC and Marvel now, I guess, but I really like that piece a lot. And now, the most expensive piece I own, actually, no, sorry, let me correct that. The most expensive piece I ever bought is this. This is Tony Daniels, an artist I actually know.
Tony Danza, you mean? I actually have a Tony Daniels piece as well. I wasn't going to show it, but this is it's a Superman piece from Justice League New 52.
Nice.
Very cool.
Yeah. This is the page from Spawn number 44. So,
Yep, that's Spawn. That's
and
beautiful.
that's I think Tiffany or one of the angels. I'm not sure which one.
Yeah.
It's not Angela though.
No, I love Angela.
Yeah. But yeah, this was only 400. This is so far the most expensive
Wow,
I ever bought.
that's a great deal.
So let me shout out the chat a little bit because I always forget you people. Thomas Misexplained. Caleb was here right off the bat. DS Comics, how we doing? RJ Taylor, thank you very much. Theory 23, very cool. We've got here Bake the Snake. We've got Pocan Joe, my good friend there, Ranger Comics fan, huge collector. I love that stuff. We got here
Mr. Garrel.
Mr. Garrel's here. Count Bond Strange. I mean, yeah, we've got a lot of people chatting over there. That's cool. A lot of good compliments. It's nice. Gino Benino. Yo, yo, yo. What's up, peeps? Very cool. Checking out his boy here. Very cool. Well, and JP's budget collecting. Awesome. Very cool.
Nice. Hey, what's up, Jason?
My piece that I would say is, I do a lot of commissions. You guys have seen them. I don't have to go through them all, but a lot. I do it all the time. It's like my big thing. If you've ever been to a con with me or C2E2 or Planet, you'll see I'll just go over to a guy and say, draw me this. And I've got them scattered throughout. Some not. Some behind me like this. Some over here. But I'm a big fan of that. But one time, well, other than this is my most cherished piece. It's the John Buscema, the cars. I have 2 of them. There's only 75 of the cards or whatever it was at the time. Hand sketched, drawn, Silver Surfer by John Buscema. Yeah, they're cards. I have 2. I went and I looked. I've had one for eons, and I found another one. A guy had one at he was like, yeah, it's a cover. They're $10 a piece. I'm like, okay. So, but before anything happened with the Avengers and Infinity War, Avengers movie, or anything close to any of that stuff was going out, was the 90s. In the 90s, guys like Jim Starlin and Ron Lim and those guys were able to part ways with some of their original artwork for a nice, $200 to $400, which was a decent amount of money. They were still working at the time. And that's where this came in. And I've had this for way too long. This is from Avengers Annual number 7. This is the Thanos fight with the Avengers. I have been offered some money for this. I won't sell it. I think it belongs to my family at this point. But there you got Jim Starlin's old signature down here. And I didn't know this, but you've got, the page number. It's page 37. And the dialogue is really cool in here. And without it being colored, I was like, where's the colored piece? Apparently, that was it. This is exactly what my first interaction with original art was when somebody bought this for me, gave this to me. I said, oh, that's cool, but why isn't it colored? And I had no idea that they didn't color every one. I had no idea. So
I had the same discovery and realization process when I first started researching stuff. That's awesome, man.
This was when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's definitely a keeper.
Yeah. And it's one of those Lux situations that I just really like the fact that Thanos and Thor were in the thing. And I said, well, that's pretty cool. And someone said, all right, well, it's page 30, and the price they offered was a little bit more than I wanted to spend, but I would get that if I were you. By the way, the same place, my friend who was with me turned down Swamp Thing number 1, page 1.
Oh my God.
He didn't want to pay $1,200 for it. And Bernie Wrightson was selling it at his table.
Oh my God.
$1,200 for that?
$1,200. Did not want to buy it. It was too much money.
Dude.
That's a bargain.
but this is years later,
I could open up the time machine portal from Endgame and do that.
That convention. I even talked when I was at Planet, I talked to Steranko about that convention.
Is Comic Head 84 in the chat?
I don't think so.
Okay. I keep dropping things, so I just was wondering.
He's jinxing you. Dude, that's awesome, man. I mean, that's the type of piece that I'm aiming to achieve at some point in my collection. I don't really have any Bronze Age or Silver Age original art. I mean, my bigger pieces are more, I guess they're either more commission based or they're modern published pieces. So like, I can show you a couple of more modern ones that I'm super proud of.
Yeah, I'm my next original art piece. I mean, I'm always on the hunt for something at a good price.
Right.
I've always been. I mean, I've searched Buscema every time. I don't own any sequential art by him, and I should.
It's amazing.
It's not cheap.
So
it's that's the problem. It'd be giving away a grail for me.
I don't even know exactly how to classify this page. It's not a splash page, but it's kind of like a hybrid splash page because it's got some unique movement in it, you know, from panel to panel, leading down to the scene at the bottom. But this is a Jock page from All-Star Batman. So Jock drawing Mr. Freeze.
Please, that alone is ridiculous.
I think they call it a half splash.
Yeah, at least a half splash.
Yeah.
This is more of a 2-panel full splash. This is a David Finch. So this is a David Finch Wonder Woman. So there you go. You got Wonder Woman up there in the top panel.
That is gorgeous.
A giant look at all the detail and all the different heads. So this is my one David Finch piece that I'm super proud of. Finch is one of my favorites. Period. One of my favorites. One of my absolute favorites as well. So that's my one Finch piece. I love that piece. This isn't really an expensive piece, but I like this. This came out of the Ed Bena studio for an artist named Jonatos, I think. And it's an X23 original illustration. And then this is probably my biggest modern piece. It's a published cover, published DC cover from Jock. It's Azrael #3. So there's the book, and then there's the cover.
Oh, very nice.
Nice.
So it's a.
Does Jock ever come around anymore in cons? I haven't seen him in a con in a long time.
He was at New York Comic Con, but he was barely at his table. Like he was like nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, he's.
You know, like. So this is probably one of my favorite pieces for sure. Being a published Jock cover, who's my favorite modern artist, probably, or maybe top 2 favorite modern artist. Definitely my favorite modern like DC like mega artist.
Right.
And then probably lastly on that front, as far as published stuff, I mentioned the Roy Thomas piece earlier. So this is Roy Thomas Presents Volume 2. So if you're not familiar with the Heap, it's a
we are. TJ and I bought Airboys.
Yeah, so basically is a character from the 40s and 50s Airboy comics in the Golden Age, sort of the precursor to Swamp Thing and Man Thing. So this cover was done for this hardcover was not taken from an old piece of art. It was a new piece of art done in 2012 by Frank Brunner for this hardcover. And I won the auction for the painting of that cover on Comic Link last year. So
shit.
Yeah, so there you go. Frank Brunner, original. Still need to get this framed. I mean, I've been nervous.
To get that framed. Frank Brunner does not do a lot anymore.
I've been nervous as hell keeping this not in a frame, but I gotta spend the money on that pretty soon.
That is really nice.
This is probably one of the sickest things in my entire collection, bar none. A Frank Brunner painting of, what's funny is on his painting, he's reading Man Thing.
Yeah.
And then they digitally replaced it on the actual published book with the Heap. So it's it's like an infinity cover. But, but the original painting has him reading Man Thing, which I thought was hilarious.
Well, it's kind of funny because when Skywald Publications revived the Heap, they changed the way he looked because the thing looked too much like the Heap.
Right.
And they would have had some problems with Marvel. So
the Heap was the original Swamp character.
Was the original Swamp Thing-ish character. So
Swamp character. Yeah, I mean,
he was the first.
He was first.
Yep.
All those Airboy comics. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, that's one of my favorites for sure.
Nice. So when you go out and you get commissions and you go out and negotiate original art, it's not like you're negotiating a comic book.
No.
Because you can always find another one of those books at somebody else if you can't get it. The piece of original art is the only one of that. It's one of one.
Yep.
So, you have to have a price set in your head what you're willing to pay, and make sure you do love it because they get to be expensive.
Oh, yeah.
If you commission something, I mean, I always leave it up to the artist to have fun with it. I've been pleasantly surprised with everything I've gotten. Maybe one or two I've been like, all right, but that's just me being me. And
I mean, one of my personal favorite resources. So if you're thinking about getting into original art and you don't know where to start, or or you just need more, you just need a place to dive in deeper. Like, I suggest comicartfans.com is my favorite, like, single source destination and community online for original art collecting. It's almost akin to the CGC forums and, like, learning about grading and slabbing, but you learn about original art over there, and people have their entire original art portfolios uploaded there. There's, like, deep discussion threads that go on for miles there. There's art for sale up there. They have sales that are being tracked there. They've got, I mean, they've got more than you can even like, possibly digest in one sitting. So I suggest everybody, you go to comicartfans.com, sign up for the weekly newsletter. They send an email every Wednesday. Just peruse that newsletter, peruse that website, browse around that website, and you'll discover so much on that website. You'll discover links to, like, the artist representatives where you can get commission opportunities. You have links to, like, artists that are selling original art straight off their websites, like Alex Ross and Bill Sinkovich, and they all have their own stores and different sales reps. Like, what's Jim Lee's rep? Moy, right?
yeah, and then you got Quan Chang, who represents a lot, and
then you got what's it called?
Felix Comics Art.
Yeah, Splash Page Comic Art. Comic Art is a big one. Also, they represent a lot.
Felix Comic Art. Anthony Snyder.
Anthony Snyder, yeah. So there's a lot of resources sort of aggregated there in one place at comicartfans.com. So for me, that's been sort of where I've gotten, like, my crash course, and also talking to other guys in the community, like like RB3 last year. I talked to him a bunch about original art and stuff. So I learned a lot just by.
I was going to try to get him on with the four of us. We were going to, but. Ramita Man,
Ramita Man, yeah.
Ramita Man's good. I do like the fact that a lot of those places, like TJ says, do take layaway.
Yeah.
And it's an important part of it, because if you're going to fall in love with the item if you really want that one item, and don't think you're going to find the cover to House of Secrets 992 out there.
No.
Although there were pages from that on Comic Connect last year.
Yeah, there were, and each one went
amount of money.
$130,000 was the second, was the most expensive. The cheapest was 72.
Oh my God.
Not even the Swamp Thing story.
Yeah.
There are pieces of original art that nobody knows where they are, and this is one of them. The cover for this has never been found, or nobody knows. Nope, you'll never see it anywhere.
Do you know if the cover for this has ever been found? So this isn't actually technically original art, but it's like, what's it like? I got some photo stats from Kirby, but like, those are just essentially copies, straight copies. But this is production art, so it's actually been printed onto, like, clear Mylar-like substance. So if you put a backing board behind it, so this is Brave and the Bold, 54. First appearance of the Teen Titans. That the cover, has this cover ever been sold? Do you know?
I don't know. A good place to check for that is Heritage Auction or Comic Art.
I've checked there and I haven't seen it.
Comic Art usually has it up there, but Silver Surfer 4 has notoriously been missing since people have been started looking for it. I think in '68 and '69 they said they don't know what happened to it. They think some woman might have thrown out a bunch of stuff.
The Library of Congress has the Amazing Fantasy 15 cover. Right? Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of original art that's just been trashed. It's just gone.
Mm-hmm.
My first collection of original art is sold. I don't know what had happened to it after that, but it could be gone, except for the cover from George Perez. I did see about 10 years ago up for auction. So I know that was the one I own because it is one of a kind.
Yeah, that's the thing you do. Yeah.
It was interesting how much it went for.
Yeah.
I sold all my original art for $200 back then in 1981.
Oh. There was there's been the story of this secretary at Marvel Studios. She ended up preserving almost everything from the early days, but she left in like 66. And then somebody else came in, and then she came back to check, and she said, "Where's all the art?" And that's what she was there to collect. Like, she preserved a lot of the old stuff, and a lot of it was missing. A lot of the Fantastic Fours, you know, a lot of the original covers aren't around now. The later ones, they're around. I can tell you right now. I've seen 112, I've seen 105, I've seen 72. I've gone to these museums sometimes, and or I've gone to a showing of comic art one time, and they had some crazy stuff. And New York Comic Con does it every year. Actually, the best thing about New York Comic Con is they're the ones who do the major art gallery at the New York Comic Con is probably worth the price of admission alone.
It's amazing.
Hudat had a question. I think it's great. He goes, "I have a question. I know a guy who has the last page, splash page of Raphael #1, which is the first of Casey Jones. How do I price that?" Well, that's the thing. You're pricing it. You want to make a deal for the guy. You've got to find out what he's been willing to part with it with. And he does the research and you do the research. On a first appearance Kevin Eastman book, I would say you'd have to go probably to first April O'Neil would be the best equivalent. And probably look for that. And because it's a last page splash page or a half splash page, you got to mark that up at least 10 to 20% usually from a standard page in the middle. Without a major character, like if you have an Avengers and the only character is like the villain and it's not a big villain on the whole page talking to the minions or whatever, that page will go less than your page with Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor. Will go for more. Whatever on the page goes for more. I mean, there are some, you know, if I always look at Thor, Silver Surfer art, I look for the two of them together because they've been in a few comic books together. And I always look for that. And I always get this one issue of an annual that happened. But it's literally, Balder the Brave talking with somebody else that has nothing to do with Silver Surfer. But it is that book. But I don't really want to buy that because it doesn't have the characters I want on it. And that's one of the things. If you're not in love with the piece of original art, then, you know, like I have a couple of pieces I'm not crazy about, but I'm waiting for the guy to come back and make a bid on. Some of them I had for a while, and he hasn't come back yet because he's waiting to see what he can sell them for himself. I'm in no rush. I told him to sell it, and he's in no rush to buy it. So we're in that stalemate mode right now.
Now, here's a tip, though, when you're selling or buying on like eBay for original art. It's really usually a deal when it's a buy it now as opposed to an auction for original art, because people are just in love with the item. There is no set value on it, and it will go for way more than it probably should. If you're selling, do it as an auction.
Yeah.
Don't do it because you could probably get more auctioning it than you could buy it now or make a deal. So.
Like I've yet to sell a single piece of original art, so I have no actual experience. I've only bought, but I've gotten a lot of great deals, I think, on making an offer on a buy it now price and coming to an agreement. Or, you know, I've had some success with Comic Link auctions, like straight up auctions. But, you know, in the last hour or last even 15 minutes, like you're you know, those things are skyrocketing, like in that last 15 minutes for the original art auctions. It's staggering, like the percentage of increase that happens at the end of those auctions.
Now, Comic Link's original art auctions are very good. They are very good where you can get stuff. If you're not into the exact sequential art by that artist at that time, there's a lot of other things that are going around the same. There are commissions that are done. There are production arts. There's there's everything else. But one of the things on there you can find are prelims, and that's that people don't usually bid on. Usually they go for like 10% of what an actual thing could be. But
I love perusing either the focused auctions or like the
check out this month's the one that's
I love it, dude.
15th is the best original art one I've seen. It came out today. They announced the original art today, and there's more to be added.
You send me the catalog now because I've bought enough, so I just like
I get the catalog. I just go online when I get it. Heritage is good, but this one has some amazing stuff in it. Stuff all like honestly, they've got so much good stuff. I'm not going to share with everybody. No, I'm kidding. Got the entire.
Caleb just says I found
Got pages from Fantastic Four 112. They have pages from Fantastic Four 112. They've got a cover recreation by John Buscema of Fantastic Four 112, which, if anybody knows, it's my top 10 covers of all time. It's the only one I have that doesn't include Surfer or any of my favorite characters, but it's my favorite cover of non-favorite characters, and it's an iconic cover. But it's just ridiculous, and it's a great book too. But that's out there. There's so many good stuff right now. Comic Link is really good. Heritage auctions, you got to be careful because a lot of dealers peruse those things.
Yeah.
Like TJ says, auctions, some books, you get two people bidding on it. In Russell, this is actually what I'm going to tell you. If you're the only one interested in that piece of original art, then you get it for whatever price you want. If two people are doing it, it's the guy with the deeper pocket who wants it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things that.
Yes, asked, what's your guys' opinion on color cover proofs? I don't know if I have an opinion on it.
Their color proofs are not original art, so I just always.
Yeah, isn't that more like akin to like the production art I showed?
Exactly.
Raven the Bold 52.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
54 rather. Yeah.
I put them on the same, and I put them in a category that I do collect. I do look for them for books I like, because there is usually only one of that production art. It's not original art.
Yeah, I look for production art that I can't, in God's, in all the like dreams of my brain,
right.
Power combined, I'll never be able to afford the original art cover to Brave and the Bold 54. Right? Like there's no way. Yeah. So I look for production art like that because it's like my way of getting it, or like getting that piece of it.
Right. And that's a great thing because there's only usually one per, and every time they reissue it, they put it out there again. They keep the production arts. The other thing is I put them on the same thing as if you go to a con and get a print by a guy and get him to sign it, put a little sketch over it, it's kind of like that, or do something.
Yeah.
It's just a little different. One of the questions in here was Caleb found a few things. Who that says the page that Raphael and Casey Jones together, because the whole book is Casey like a bag of, and last page he teams up with Raphael. Yeah, I mean, it's a first appearance. If you're the only guy, that's what it is. But two guys, color cover proofs, like DS said. The ones from the Golden Age are pretty cool, but they run about $100 a piece. The people say there's only one, but I've seen the same book like 6 to 7 times out there on the same one. Just found an eBay listing for original art. Good. Yeah. If you're looking to buy that, but a unique item is indeed on the color proofs and stuff like that. They are cool. I think it's cool because of brightness and everything else. They're better than prints, but they're not original art. So take it for what it is at that point. A Gliche would be a good example of that. But if you do get into original art, like we said, we gave you the sites, we gave you everything else. Also, like I'd say with anything with grails or getting anything that you want to do, price yourself accordingly. Layaway is a great thing. Be safe with what you're doing on this stuff. Buying on eBay original art, make sure the guy's got Providence on there, and you're going to hear your Comic Books NYC say that, and TJ say that.
Providence is such a big thing.
I bought my prelim cover from Anthony Snyder or from those guys, because I know they're not messing around.
Yeah.
They're the biggest dealers that are around. Yeah. I'm going from a guy on eBay with very few people. I just don't think he had access to it.
Yeah. Once you got the art in your hand, you can know if it's fake or not.
Yeah.
Or a reproduction when it's been billed as original art. But just looking at the postings, you don't know what you're getting until you get it.
Yeah.
Now, again, the auction sites are great. CGC website does have an original art section, but it's pretty good. It's mostly dealers, and sometimes it's there before it goes to comic sketch art or comic art fans or a few other websites. Felix is one of them. He actually puts them on Twitter first. It's pretty impressive. Like Ryan Stegman's entire Venom run goes on Twitter like Wednesdays, a week after it comes out. he puts it out and it's gone quick. But original issue 1 was going for no more than $225 a page, and now it's up to $500-600 a page. But then you got an Isak Ribic painted cover of Fantastic Four that just happened out there is $5,000.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there's Bill Sienkiewicz has his Midtown variant covers, or his Doctor Doom painting for a Fantastic Four variant cover, or whatever it is. He has a lot of his stuff direct listed, and a lot of artists do that direct listing, direct to consumer style store, and that's always, of course, trustworthy. It's coming straight from the artist. They provide all the paperwork, so every part of the sale chain is always. I mean, if I could afford it, I would buy from the artist direct every freaking time. Good, but it's so expensive. Yeah,
right, it is. It's more expensive to get from the artist from the dealer, but it's safer.
Some of the stuff is affordable, but more money than I have at any given one time.
Yeah.
When I say affordable, Neil Adams had a Walking Dead print. The original art is on his website. It's $4,000.
The one where Rick Grimes shooting zombie. Yeah.
The original art is on his website for that, and it's $4,000 for it.
Yeah, he brought that to Planet Comic-Con 2 years ago, the original piece, and it wasn't $4,000 then. Still, but it was. But it is true. That's exactly what TJ says. They do that. And there's one that I've been looking at for a while that it's just debate: sell a Grail or never buy another Grail, or save up and lay away for that because I really want it.
Yeah.
But I can also have somebody commission. That's the other thing. I can't get my favorite artists. Most of them are dead. But Art Adams is alive, and he does such great cover work. So a lot of things that I'm I just showed some guys here some stuff I'm working on right now with a guy. My ideas, with Vader and Thanos, I've got 5 or 6 different covers. I've got the God watercolor, the Sistine Chapel.
I love watercolor, man. That looks
great.
Cool.
This is Copic marker actually, but it's still. Yeah,
I got a few marker drawings. I got this one on Comic Link.
Actually, I think Copic.
This is a Batman. This is a Batman and Rhino hybrid, which is interesting because it's different universes. But yeah, pretty cool. Marker drawings are interesting.
Now the funny thing about original art is I would love Golden Age original art. There's some guys with some.
Not much exists, I hear, right?
Well, they do exist, and a lot of them are cheap.
Yeah,
right.
And you'd think they are cheaper because you don't have a McFarlane or whoever whoever you're collecting. If you're a fan or a Kirby or that, you don't have that in the Golden Age. You didn't know. You've got somebody who did. I'm not saying buy them.
You have less marquee names. You have less pop culture mainstream content for those stories and characters and
pre-1951, you don't know who did it.
Right.
Chops. You don't know who did it because they'll attribute it to somebody. The most expensive one. Oh, Joe Doolin did this. You could just tell by it. And I could be like, well, there's no provenance on that because it says Iger shop. And I meant they just handed from each person who worked there and said, draw the elephant, and you draw the tiger, and you draw this. And that's exactly how it worked.
Yeah.
So, it's a different world. And they're available. A lot of the war covers, I've seen them at every con for $200 to $500 a page. But again, not the Joe Manili, Russ Heath stuff or the stuff that a lot of people collect in the war cover you've never heard of. But you never know. It could be Gil Kane. You wouldn't know.
Right.
That's the thing, you don't know. It looks like Gil Kane.
I'd love Gil Kane Bronze Age cover, man. I mean, that would be that's a grail. That's a grail.
Dave Cockrum stuff was available for years.
Yeah.
Dirt cheap for everybody.
Yeah.
Actually, I think the Giant Size X-Men 1 that has sold a couple of times.
Really?
Had up for auction a few times. Yeah.
When was the last time? Do you know?
After Trimpy's 180, the splash page with Wolverine, the back of 180. Once that sold, somebody put that back up because I think they only paid $100 grand for that the first time. I think they sold it for about 600 grand. But that's, I mean,
Whew.
yeah, grand for a House of Secrets 992. This, but
It costs more than the house I just bought. It's not even a house; it's like a one bedroom in Brooklyn.
Yeah, but that's exactly. But that's what those are for the art dealers and the Christians across the world. Captain Art original Golden Age art print. Tough. Joe Simon, Jack Kirby, maybe Alan Bellman, but Alan Bellman, you'd have an inside interior. You never know. That stuff, some of that stuff is still around, but because it's Marvel, it's timely. Maybe not. Isak Ribic print for $1 grand. Yeah, a print would be $1 grand. An original artwork cover of Thor is a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, Avoid Sellers. I don't know about. Yeah, I guess that's there, but it is a rabbit hole. One of the things about original art that just one of the things about original art, I guess I should just explain from my point of view, is when I commission something or when I get something from an artist. The rules is to have fun with everything, but you're taking that home. You're gonna love it the second you get it. It's a rabbit hole, but it's like getting a grail, but you're the only one with that, especially if you make it to yourself. If you're buying original art to sell to make money, you're probably not going to have that opportunity because you need a lot of money up front to make a lot of money in this business. And that.
What I would recommend for that, if you really want to invest, and it will take a long period of time, buy new art by newer artists that are really good and hope they become a superstar.
Yeah.
That's the only way you're going to make money.
Yeah, buy it at scale. Like wrap it in every single page that you can find.
Yeah.
Like XYZ.
Yeah. Because somebody was probably buying them Ninja Turtle pages, Whodap, for no more than $5 a piece at some point.
Yeah.
Because I could tell you there were some image books back in the 90s that they were just giving away. It was just here. Whatever it was. They didn't care. There was so much of it. And then it was original art has blown up more than the comic book world has.
And blown up way more. Even the modern superstar artists, the Jack Campbells and whatnot,
that's the thing.
Their covers are 10 grand or whatever.
Yeah, which is hysterical because back in the day, I remember saying, God, I'm not going to spend we had people debate buying an original Swamp Thing 1 for $1,200 20 years ago. Swamp Thing 1, Bernie Wrightson cover page, not the cover, the page 1 page on Swamp Thing right there, Alec Holland, the whole thing.
Splash page, goodness.
Yep.
$1,200, and everybody's like, God, that's so expensive. And everybody passed it up.
Yep.
Everybody did. But that one is probably worth well into the 6 figures.
Oh, yeah.
And no comic book has done that.
No.
Not one. Not your AF-15. Not one has done that jump.
Back in the 70s and 80s, it was considered a novelty. No one even collected it. It was just so cheap. And now it's considered art that you would actually put in a museum. They have gallery showings of this stuff.
Yeah. That's exactly. I mean, there were stacks at original cons you would get for, and it would say $30 a piece, $40 a piece, $50 a piece, and they would have been active comics by any of the publishers. DC did a lot of that, but there were so many of them in there. It was all from the 80s and 90s and stuff, and pages, and they were just drawings, and you didn't know if this could have been a Bagley. You could have had the Carnage appearance. You could have had anything. Nobody cared. It wasn't a very popular thing. The books weren't popular as much as they are now. But that's scary is to think about is my friend telling that story, me telling the thing of spending $200, buying that Avengers one for a price of a song.
Mm-hmm.
Like I tell people, the book was worth more. Now, if I tell you, my Silver Surfer 4 is pretty sweet, but that original art is worth a lot more than that.
Mm-hmm.
But that was more money than that was.
Right. Yeah. Even for the homage style, market, that stuff is very, very pricey too.
And getting even modern artists. I mean, we're not talking about getting a Jack Kirby piece.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about going to get an artist that's modern today. If you look Lucio Perillo wanted $1,200 for a painting sketch at a con. and somebody bought it, and I'm like, I'm trying to think if Neil Adams is just sitting there saying, "What the hell is this?" Steranko. I mean, a lot of the older guys don't sketch it as much anymore, but Perez did a few, but he was pretty reasonable. Neil's got his prices. Neil's known, but then you've got guys that are legends that you just want to get them to draw for you, and they'll just do it. But you have these young guys there. Here are my prices. If it's this, I want this. This, I want this. This, I want this. Okay, and okay.
Sometimes, honestly, I just like going out to, whether it's a con or specifically an art show. I went to New York Comic Art Expo a couple weeks ago for a few hours, and I didn't buy anything. I just walked around. And there's a museum here on the Upper West Side that has comic art in it. There's a comic art museum in San Diego that I like ran into without even knowing that it was there. They have a comic art museum. So, like, to TJ's point, it has crossed the zeitgeist into like fine art territory, right? So it's starting to be, there are museums dedicated to it. It's starting to, be in, regular art museums, you know what I mean? Like it's starting to cross over. It's getting to that point where, I mean, obviously, you see Endgame making all the money in the world, like comics is current culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the core art behind it, which is the drawing, you know what I mean, has sort of grown with it from an economic standpoint.
It's funny because I have some Thanos stuff I had done in 2008, 2009. Before anybody, you knew who he was if you were a Silver Surfer fan and Infinity Golem fan, George Perez fan, but he wasn't in the movies yet. And these comic book shops here in we're back in New York and here always said, "Oh, the Thanos guy, Thanos," and they would say Thanos is Thanos' guy. Like, it's Thanos, but that's all right. And then I remember getting Jim Starlin to sketch that for nothing. Perez doing that for nothing. They're like, Thanos? Okay, yeah, okay. All right, yeah, okay.
I just want to show off a couple more things because
please do.
Yeah, do it.
I have to bounce in a second. Sorry, but this is one of my favorite pieces I have. This is Avengers Initiative, I think, number 30. This is the image of Nightmare that everyone's using for their thumbnails, which I thought was pretty amazing. So.
Oh yeah.
Very nice.
Because he's going to be the bad guy in the next Doctor Strange movie, so I was and that's the image they keep using. So
I hope they make it really scary.
Yep. So do I.
It's awesome.
But that used to be my favorite piece of my collection. But this is.
Oh.
Yes, I recognize that one.
My collection. And not only because it's Neil Adams, but because how I got it.
Yeah, well, that is my favorite piece I've ever seen. So very cool.
So, I may as well just stop buying original art because I'm not going to ever own anything that's going to top it. So.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So I don't know if TJ knows this, but I also played a small part in.
Yes, he did.
To that piece.
I suspected. Thank you so much, kind sir.
No problem.
Yep.
Very cool. So that's it, everybody. Thanks for watching this episode of Stranger Things comic original art. We don't know what we're going to do for the next one yet. We got time to think about it. Just to let you know, as a programming announcement, I'll do that really quick before I hand it off to anybody else. Programming announcement, following next Tuesday, Golden Guys will be back on. Thank you for being a friend. We'll definitely do that. Tomorrow night on the Comic Core, we've got Comic Core Unlimited, John's Comics with Kids, myself, Jason from Comics Misexplained, and of course Israel from Comic Spectre. I'm very excited to get him back on the air. After that, tomorrow night I'll be on either John or Alex channel talking War of the Realms for New Comic Book Day review. We're doing all issues 1 through 3, and be a tie-in or two.
I'm on issue 3. I gotta read that one.
Right, so good. Spoiler alert! I like the damn thing. It's better than Deceased, at least. And then Friday, I've got The Hunt with Tony Sanders and Jeffrey Comic-Con. Our guest is Mr. Bake the Snake. So we're excited about that.
Nice.
So that's what I got going on. Comic Books NYC, what do you got going on?
Speaking of Bake the Snake, I got the Direct Edition Squad Team Up Show channel on Sunday nights, 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. So that
Hello. I think we lost him.
We lost him. Well, look that up. That's good. Sorry about that, everybody. Well,
I don't know what happened there.
oh, you're back. Okay.
Yeah. What was the last thing I said? That was weird.
You were talking about the Sunday night show.
Okay, yeah. So I got the Sunday night show. It's me, Bake, Jeffrey Comic Con, Soldier only, Fuchsia only. We've got a brand new channel for that. It's called Direct Edition Squad. So everybody can go subscribe over there. We're on every Sunday night. We're talking about all sorts of pop culture stuff, movies, TV, comic books, video games, food, all topics on the table. So that's every Sunday night, 5:30 Pacific. Then I got on the 20th of May, I've got a show with JP's Budget Collecting and John's Comics with Kids. It's the third episode of our Batman story show. It's called Gotham City Chronicles. We did year one already, and we did the Long Halloween already. We're going to be doing Hush for the third episode, and John's going to join us for that show. On my own channel, I don't have a ton besides that stuff going on. I mean, I've got a CGC package on the way with some Golden Age books that will maybe arrive by Friday. So maybe I'll do an unboxing on Friday if it comes in time. But you know, I'll be around.
Very cool. Hey, I got some stuff at CDC coming back soon. I think I got some Signature Series stuff. One other thing, there's a new show Discovery Bay's doing. Tell me that doesn't sound great. The unboxing match.
Oh yeah, that looks fun.
It's him and Bear Island. It's like the Bay and the Bear. But you know, that's what's going on. So I'm gonna say goodbye to everybody. Anybody else say goodbye? TJ.
Goodbye, everyone. You have a very good night. And for all the you out there that said kind words to me today, thank you so much.
Love you, TJ.
You're a good man. So that's it, everybody. Thanks a lot for coming. Comic Books NYC. Got to get you on another. Maybe you.
Yeah, man, this was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Hey, come on, well, Mike, would you hold off on the boxing till Golden Guys?
Sure.
Yeah, and Golden Guys Tuesday.
Yeah,
Our guest is Comic Books NYC. So
I'm in.
Very cool. See you guys.
All right, guys.
Thank you.